So, what if I told you that your entire life, the quality of it, the joy you feel, your success, it all really boils down to just three decisions? And we're not talking about huge, life-altering choices here. We're talking about tiny little shifts in focus that you make every single moment. Today, we're going to break down exactly what they are. But to really get what this is all about, we have to start with a story. A story from Tony Robbins' own childhood that kicks off with this simple, kinda unbelievable line. It was Thanksgiving, and this one arrival, well, it would change absolutely everything. Because, believe it or not, tucked away inside this one single memory from a pretty tough Thanksgiving is the entire blueprint. It's the key to understanding how these powerful life decisions actually work for all of us. And it's a lesson that was born, as they often are, from a moment of crisis. So, picture this. Young Tony Robbins is growing up in a family with a ton of tension and not a lot of cash. It's Thanksgiving, and there is literally no food for dinner. Then, out of nowhere, a knock on the door. It's a stranger holding a complete Thanksgiving meal, an incredible, unexpected gift. But his dad, instead of feeling grateful, he's just filled with this rage and this shame. He tries to slam the door, yelling that they don't take charity. And right there, in that moment, he's faced with a massive choice. So his dad goes to slam the door a second time. But the man on the porch, he doesn't even flinch. He just looks him dead in the eye and says this. And in that split second, everything just stops. Robbins thought his dad was going to throw a punch, but he didn't. He looked back at his hungry family, then at the man, and he accepted the food. And that moment, that was it. That's what taught Robbins the single most important lesson of his entire life. See, it wasn't about the event. It wasn't about being poor or getting a free meal. What mattered was where his father chose to put his focus. Was it going to be on his wounded pride, or was it going to be on his family's needs? And that is the whole key. Our reality isn't shaped by what happens to us, but by where we decide to focus our attention. So, that brings us right to the big three. The three core decisions that, whether you know it or not, you are making constantly, all day, every day. First, are you focusing on what you have or on what you don't have? Second, on what you can control or what you can't. And third, are you focused on the past, the present, or the future? Let's dive into that first one. All right, so decision number one, this is really all about perspective. It's that classic battle, right? Abundance versus scarcity. Gratitude versus always wanting more. It's a fundamental choice we all make. And just think about it for a second. Be honest with yourself. In your own life, where does your attention naturally drift? Does it go to all the amazing things you've achieved, the people you have? Or is it always about that next thing, the thing on the horizon that's still missing? Well, here's the crazy part that Robbins points out. Most people, and I'm talking even super successful people, almost always focus on what they lack. It's wild. They'll hit $1 million goal, and their immediate thought is, well, I don't have 10 million. They get the 10 million, and they're already chasing 100. The finish line just keeps moving further and further away. And that right there, that's the real cost, isn't it? When you're constantly looking at what's missing, you can never really hold on to happiness. It just becomes this endless hamster wheel of chasing more, where you never feel like you have enough or that you are enough. You completely miss out on all the joy that's available to you right here, right now. Okay, let's move on to the second decision, which is a real game changer. This one is all about agency. It's what determines whether you feel powerful in your own life or totally powerless. You know, the recent pandemic was a perfect global test of this idea. When the entire world felt like it was spinning out of control, where did people put their mental energy? On the things they could actually influence, or on that giant mountain of things they had zero control over? The choice is just so stark. It's black and white. You can focus on what you can control, your attitude, right? Your actions, how you treat people, how you adapt. Or you can get obsessed with everything you can't control. The economy, the news, what other people are doing. One of those paths leads to progress. The other one, it leads to paralysis. And when you pour all of your energy into the uncontrollable stuff, this is what you get. It's inevitable. You feel angry at the world, frustrated with your circumstances, stressed about the future. It just breeds this resentment and ultimately this deep feeling of powerlessness. Why? Because you've basically handed over the remote control to your emotional state to things you can never, ever change. All right, on to the final piece of the puzzle. This third decision is all about where you choose to live in time, inside your own head. So just take a quick, honest inventory. Is your mind constantly replaying old mistakes and hurts from the past? Is it perpetually worried and anxious about a future that hasn't even happened yet? Or are you grounded right here, in the only moment where you actually have any power, the present? Now, what's so fascinating here is the contrast. People who are struggling are often trapped in the past, just dwelling on regret and pain. Or they're terrified of the future, worrying about everything that could possibly go wrong. But successful people? They use the past like a library, not a prison. They go in, they learn the lessons, and then they move on. They engage fully in the present because they know it's the only place they can actually build the future that they're actively and optimistically planning for. So when you put all three of these decisions together, you start to realize they're not just small habits, are they? They are the steering wheel of your life. This is where your true power really is. The path forward is actually pretty simple. You can consciously make these choices. Focus on what you have, and you'll live in a state of gratitude. Focus on what you can control, and you'll feel empowered. And focus on the present, so you can actively create the future you really want. And this brings us all the way back to that Thanksgiving story. Just imagine for a moment. What if his father had focused on his wounded pride, on the uncontrollable fact that a stranger was at his door, and on all the past failures that led them there? That day would have ended in violence and shame, not with a warm meal on the table. Ultimately, one man's choice changed the entire trajectory of his son's life, and it led to the very lessons we've talked about today. Your life, right now, is being shaped by these same small decisions. So the only question left is, where will you choose to put your focus?